Hi, everybody. Welcome to the final Lombardi Time Brews Live. I'm Jon. She's Claudia. If you don't know that by now, I don't know why you're here. But it is nice to see everyone here. In case you haven't heard, I've been talking about it for weeks, but still, yes, indeed, this is the last one. This is our riding off into the sunset episode. It would have been nice to do this with a Super Bowl victory, but hell, a loss to the Eagles feels the same, don't it? Just kidding, not at all. So today, I thought we just really wanted one last chance, no matter how many people are here, whatever. We really wanted one last chance to talk Packers, to extend thanks, to even relive whatever it is maybe you want to relive. Because after all, we've been doing this for 3 seasons. Claudia joining me on the channel for 2 of them. But it's been a long road, and I'm sure there's going to be other thoughts that come up as we go. But we are, and really why we wanted to do this was we wanted one last chance to just say thanks for the growth that we never really expected. Like, we never really knew how this would go. We never really had any expectations, but then we were thrilled, very proud of being able to nearly reach 2,000 subscribers. But even more importantly than just the sheer numbers has been the friends. And I know that sounds terribly cliche. I get it, but it's also the honest truth. We have made a lot of friends doing watch parties. We had an environment where we were all able to fan together in a predominantly positive way. I said predominantly. I got pissy sometimes. I will fully admit it. LaFleur gets under my skin. But thanks, everybody. And that's really what this is for. A good opportunity to say thank you. So with that, let's dive into, there is actually some Packer topics we could talk about because after all, it's why we all exist. But we're going to talk about that stuff. I do have one announcement for you that I'm going to do at the very, very end. But I've got some thoughts because Matt LaFleur gave his presser and I have thoughts. Then there's also like the free agency list that we can certainly look over. Anything at all that you want to bounce off, please do. This is it. So let's see what we got here. Peter, you're up first. Bonjour, my friend.
Bonjour. I'm going to miss your live shows. Like I said before, it really felt like home. I hope this last LTB live is just an au revoir.
Thank you. And as I said in one of the comments, like, I am going to miss saying bonjour, my friend. I'm going to miss being internationally acclaimed because of Peter. But
and a couple others.
Yes. But the reality is, so for us, I know there's been asking of like, is this going to be a hiatus? Is it? No, I really think that this is it. And part of the reason for that, you do deserve an explanation, is, we've been doing this for 3 years and it has helped fill some gaps. As most of you know, I've undergone a world of health things over the last couple of years. And it's been a really good place for us to focus on and do together and fan with others and stuff. But my hope, my intention is that the memorabilia business that we have is going to continue to grow, continue to expand as it's done in the last 2 years. But then also for me personally, I want to get back to working with people, not digitally.
Physical people.
Right, where I can see their face.
Virtual.
So hopefully in the future, getting back to that, going back to school, getting the degrees for that, and then getting to a place where I can really hopefully help people in their lives. That's the aim. So I do think this is it. Jake.
What's up, Jake?
What's up, Jake? Hello, Jeremy. I think it's really going to hit me during the draft shows. Yeah. Hopefully we're going to be there in person this year. And if anyone else is there, since it's in Green Bay, stop us. Yes. Say hi. Hello. We'd love that. I don't know how much we're going to be there, but hopefully we can be there. But indeed. Steve.
We'll miss seeing you guys and wish you the best.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you. That means a lot. The Rigby Mordecai.
Hey, Jon and Claudia. I'm glad that I went from an upset Packers fan wanting answers about a bad game in Buffalo to being a big fan of this channel. I hope wherever you go forward is great for you.
Thanks, Rigby Mordecai. I will say, hopefully, we helped assuage some of that rage. Hopefully, I didn't exacerbate more. But we always tried to be a voice of reason, even if my temper went sometimes. David.
Brought out the gold blazer.
Indeed. It's the Packer Hall of Fame blazer. It felt fitting, didn't it? They're all retired. I'm retiring. Feels fitting. Sword of the Spirit.
What the PH is this riding into the sunset?
Indeed, it's true. Hey, man, I've been announcing it for weeks. Like, one thing no one can blame me for in my time of podcasting is that I didn't communicate. I've tried. Okay, but yeah, indeed, it's it. Simon.
Hey, I'm at work and sorry I can't stick around much, but I wish you guys all the best in your future. Loved talking draft with you guys last year.
Thank you, Simon. That means a lot. Thank you for your support.
Kevin,
what's
well
up, Kevin?
done. And Claudia.
Thank you, Kevin. Sword of the Spirit.
I'm not letting you get rid of me.
Man, after this, I'm out. So many profiles going to be deleted. You're never going to find me. Just kidding. I'm sure you can find me, but yeah.
Our friends over at Wisco Fanatics, you both are great people. I have no doubt you guys will be successful in everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler, Jake. It's been awesome getting to know you guys. The joint shows that we did for the draft or training camp. I have two great friends because of this that I actually know in person, and that's meant a lot. You had me at hello, and now we are saying goodbye. Jeremy!
How can the Packers drastically improve their special teams? Have the Packers not spent the necessary time on it? Thoughts on Rick Bisaccia, and what about Brandon McManus?
Yeah, okay. Excellent question, Jeremy. Also, I did see the comment that you left the other day. First of all, thank you for your incredibly kind words. Your support with all the comments has been awesome. And I do want to get to your question. So, number one, how can the Packers drastically improve their special teams? So I can tell you just now, granted in season, we don't know what kind of time is spent in season, right? But I can tell you from training camp, the 2 years that I was there basically every day, training camp, like special teams is not an emphasis. And I'm not sure if you compare it to other franchises, if the Packers do less on special teams, if the drills just aren't as effective. I don't have a clear answer for you without having been to other training camps. But I can tell you it's pretty apparent that oftentimes special teams is like, all right, we're going to do offensive set for 25 minutes, 3 drives, whatever the day is calling for. And now it's time for kickoff drill. All right, 5 minutes, go. And so it just doesn't get this kind of equal representation. I honestly believe, though, that the key for special teams, and this is going to sound really dumb and overly simplistic, but I think it's the reality, is they need better depth players who are just better at special teams. Think of the traits that you need to have effective kickoff coverage, right? Discipline, speed, tackling. When you think of the Packers' secondary and linebacker play over the last 3-4 years, do you think of discipline, speed, and tackling? No, probably not. So then that doesn't translate into special teams then, right? And that's what I think they have to look at those specific traits and put a higher priority on them in order to shuffle down the bottom of the roster having those traits then too, in order to improve special teams. In terms of Rick Bisaccia, I would say, like, keep in mind he's the assistant head coach too. That may hold even more weight to LaFleur than the special teams coordinator job. Maybe what they need to do is split the position, keep Bisaccia just as LaFleur's trusted earpiece, and bring in someone else for teams. Maybe. It's at least worth thinking as LaFleur is going through his options. And then in terms of Brandon McManus, I would anticipate we're going to see Brandon McManus back. I think he brought a level of stability and calmness to field goals that hadn't been felt since realistically like Mason's second to last year. And I think that is what's going to bring him back. Like, ultimately, yeah, his second miss as a Green Bay Packer was ungodly, terribly timed, right? But I still think that sense of stability that he brought is, Gutekunst is going to look at this and be like, all right, I can bring back McManus and focus on everything else and not worry about kicker. Or I can hopefully draft one and do this whole maybe kind of sort of we got a kicker thing again. No, we're going to sign McManus and then we at least know what we have. Mick!
I believe improvement in the safety room added 2 wins to this year's total. What will add wins for 2025?
Oh, I think you're totally reasonable in what you're saying there in terms of safety wins. What will add wins for 2025? It kind of involves 2 different positions, but I would say better pass rush. You know, we've got the safety position. It's secure now with Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, secure for the foreseeable future. However, the defensive line side of the trenches, that's going to need some attention. There are some much better in terms of like defensive nomenclature and understanding film on the defensive side of the ball out there than me. And a lot of them have said that in order for Hafley's defense to work, as Hafley wants it to work, they need better D-line play. They need guys who can actually win one-on-ones, because oftentimes in their sets, you do wind up with just one-on-one D-line versus O-lineman. And too many times with the Packers this year, we saw Kenny Clark get doubled and Rashawn Gary get doubled. And then the other two on the line couldn't do anything with their one-on-ones. And they need guys in those spots who can. And I think that that's the largest ingredient to taking the Packers defense from being like this fringe top 10-ish into being a clear, certified top 5 defense. Pass rush is going to be the key. Peter!
I completely understand and sincerely wish you the very best for the coming years.
Thank you, Peter. That means a lot. Sword of the Spirit.
No one expected to beat Philly. Go Lions.
Right. That's dirty. There is no winning anymore. Like, I understand rooting and everything, but to say go Lions, ooh, like I don't enjoy this. I will tell you what I did enjoy: watching the Vikings get spanked in their wild card matchup. That was fun. I will give full credit to that.
Was Kofanek saying one of them lives at the same time even?
It's been mighty convenient, hasn't it? And I remember I got to know you specifically because you won the very first giveaway that I did on the channel. It was like the 5th episode we ever did. And I ran a giveaway for like a signed Willie Davis 8x10, some other signed cards for people submitting questions to a mailbag. And you wound up winning, and that's how we got to know each other.
Sort of the Spirit saying, at least you guys are announcing your retirement and not just fading off with no word.
Yeah,
good luck in your future ventures. Live long and prosper.
Thank you. You as well. Bryant!
McManus missed a kick at a bad time. I still feel like he is the answer there for the next few years.
Yeah, totally agreed. Now he's, generally speaking, right, Brian Gutekunst grows infatuated with guys who are coming off of their rookie contract in the free agent pool. Kicker, I don't think he cares whether his kicker is 32, 24, 37, if they can make the kicks. I think that's one position he just doesn't care. Get a guy who can do the job. Ideally, it would be someone who can be dirt cheap and is young and all this. But I think now that he's found someone, I really think we're going to see him just lock him back up and stop worrying about it.
Peter saying, since it's the very last LTB Live, if you were Goody, would you have drafted Cooper DeJean instead of Jordan Morgan?
Yeah. So here's the deal. Okay, I very much understand the rationale for Jordan Morgan. I get it. And it's, of course, easier to say this now because, like, Jordan Morgan's rookie year went how it did. But, man, yeah, I wanted Cooper. Just because I was so tired of watching Keyshawn Nixon in the slot. And I saw Cooper as this, just like he was for Philly. Just put him in the slot, and your slot is solved for a decade. And it just, I understand why they went with an O-lineman. Realistically, I would have done it. I'm obviously ecstatic that they wound up with Edgerrin Cooper. I would have entertained conversation of like, should they have gone with DeJean over Bullard if they had that chance? That I think is a much more interesting conversation for the future.
Big Al saying it was good while it lasted. Jon and Claudia, appreciate all your content and your hard work.
Thank you, Big Al. That means a lot. Sword of the Spirit.
Big Manus rules.
Indeed. Jake.
Speed and IQ are areas to improve in the front seven and on special teams.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Wyatt has shown flashes, right, in terms of the defensive tackle position, but they really need a guy opposite Kenny who can just win every time. Like, and it's both of the things that you say there, speed and IQ. It would be nice to get that on the opposite side. Of course, easier said than done.
Brian saying, I'm excited at what Edgerrin Cooper can do as a pass rusher with a full season.
Absolutely. Edgerrin Cooper with a full offseason of development, I truly believe he is going to become a bona fide star in the defense. Like, he's going to be what we have been missing for a long time. And the Packers should, in theory, be able to have one star at every level of defense, right? Be it Rashawn at defensive end, then Cooper in the middle, and then Xavier on the back end with a whole bunch of good pieces around. That's how you build a top 5 defense. The Packers are Yeah, close.
Big Al saying I'm in the Devontae Adams hype train because he's a veteran #1 wide receiver who will help develop our young wide receivers, and he knows the Matt LaFleur offense.
Yeah, yes. Like, I will say, like, I was kind of against the conversation of adding in a go get a new #1, like all that stuff, pre the Watson injury, because I just wanted them to develop another year. The potential is so tantalizing. But then that Watson injury happened, and he's going to miss the vast majority of next year. So do you want to walk into the season like, what are they going to do with Romeo Doubs? I'm not 1,000% confident that he's not going to be involved in some kind of trade talk. It sounds insane, but I don't know. Like, based upon some of these locker clean out talks, I got to at least wonder, right? And then you've got Watson, who's going to miss most of the year, and then you got Reed and Wicks, who, while are burgeoning stars in their own rights, still do have things to work on each. Boy, doesn't it really feel like what they could use is some veteran who can come in and tell them this is how you do your job? Not to say that they're not working hard at it, not to say that they don't do it on their own. But doesn't it just feel like that's kind of the piece that's missing? That unequivocal, it's 3rd and 4, we got to get 5 yards. Everyone knows who the ball is going to, but no one gives a crap because he's going to catch it. I got to be honest, I'm kind of there with you. I like the idea of bringing in Devontae on a 2-year deal more than I like the idea of giving T. Higgins $30 million for 5 years. That's where I find myself for sure.
Jake saying pass rush won Eli Manning 2 rings.
Indeed, because it wasn't Eli.
Sword of the Spirit saying Lions need to represent the North.
Yeah, see, all right, I can get with that. I would feel a lot better about it if the Lions hadn't transformed themselves from gritty to dirty. Like, they used to be a fun success story, and I felt good for them because they were the lovable losers that finally did something right. But now I don't know, man. They're just kind of playing dirty now, and I don't want to root for that.
Wisco Fanatic saying a Willie Davis 8x10 and an AJ Dillon card.
There it is. Only if she's 5'3". Jeremy.
You know what'll warm my Packers' heart? Bears hiring Arthur Smith as head coach and him hiring Joe Barry as defensive coordinator.
No, I did see today, though, that the Bears, for their interview with Mike McCarthy, didn't do some virtual Zoom type deal. No, they sent him a private plane to bring him into Chicago. I don't wonder if Chicago's putting a full court press on Big Mac, and that's going to be fun and terrible all in one. And I love Big Mac, but that's going to be weird. Sword of the Spirit.
One day you'll be on TV and I'll say, I know before they got big.
Yeah, we'll see. I might not be talking Packers, but thanks, man.
Rigby Mordecai saying, I feel like letting Kenny off the hook for this year isn't accurate. Clark had the highest cap hit on the team. He had to play better than that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. There is, of course, some personal accountability for Kenny Clark, right? But I can't tell you why he wasn't more productive. And I'm not sure anyone really can. He did have a pretty high double team rate from what I recall. But the thing with Kenny really is, like, you watch him play and it just in general wasn't as disruptive as it's been. I don't think it's an effort issue. I don't think his body just forgot how to play football. So is it because of what they're asking him to do in terms of more lateral movement on the line as opposed to less get up and cover him? Because that is one thing that LaFleur said. LaFleur, in his press conference, his end of the year press conference, said that Hafley entered the position with one vision, right? And that's all the man coverage, the blitzing, the uphill only defensive line, all these things, right? And then, as the season went on, he kind of had to rewrite it. And they started doing more zone, more contain on the D-line, having to do more stunts on the D-line. And so LaFleur said that, like, Hafley deserves kudos for having to transform. But in that transformation, did we lose a little something from Rashawn, from Kenny, from all the preseason talk of, like, well, yeah, our only job now is to go seek and destroy. And then no one wasn't. They had other stuff to do, like move laterally and absorb blocks. So I think, yeah, there is some personal accountability there for Kenny, no doubt. I just think that there's other things at play, and I'm not sure there's a clear answer as to what it is yet. Peter!
Would you rather trade for a cornerback, an edge rusher, a wide receiver, or just keep your draft capital, hoping to draft the next Cooper DeJean?
All right, here's what I would do. I would trade for an edge, sign a corner, wait for Devontae to get cut at wide receiver. And hopefully you're not using your first rounder on an edge, although you very well might have to if you're in the Max Crosby realm of things. I don't think they're going to be, though. I would sign a corner, trade for an edge, wait for Devontae, and still use the vast majority of my draft capital. That's my quick answers. Big Al!
What do you think about the Jair Alexander situation or his future? During the locker room cleanup, he seemed to not be sure about his future with the Packers.
Yeah, so let me give you a super quick recap here. There were 3 players with notable things to say during the locker room cleanup. One was Jair Alexander, who in the media went up to him and said, "Hey, you going to talk today?" He went, "No, I don't even know if I'm going to be here next year." Okay. And then he also said, "I wouldn't have anything good to say anyway." Okay, so that was interaction number 1. Interaction number 2 was Keyshawn Nixon, Keyshawn always talks, right? So he was at his locker and he said that he wants to be CB1, and CB1 means you don't return kicks anymore, and he doesn't want to return kicks anymore. Okay, that's a bit of a surprise considering that that's the vast majority of why you got your contract. So, okay, that needs to be addressed too. And then number 3 was Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft, who was there in his Smart Hulk glasses, was talking about how he felt as though the collapse, the loss, whatever you want to say, he said that he kind of felt it coming. That they've learned who some individuals in the locker room are. Right, so none of those 3 things really sound incredibly good on their surface, right? So let's attack Jair number 1. Jair, everything with Jair ever always has to have like this additional context of like, but it's Jair, right? We know from past interviews, everything, that Jair is a pretty emotional dude. Like, he just is. And we know that things have been said in the past that then, of course, didn't come to fruition from Jair, right? I'm willing to bet that there's something going on, some kind of tension. I don't know as if it's bad enough tension, though, that he's gone. I genuinely don't know. So that's number 1. Now, when LaFleur talked about Jair in his press conference, he said that he hadn't spoken with him individually. He saw him at the full team meeting, but that he'd be reaching out to all of the individual players over the next couple of weeks. That's going to be an interesting conversation. Keyshawn, he said he had a meeting with Keyshawn later in the day following his presser, which, yeah, that makes some sense. I'm sure Keyshawn is just going to wind up returning kicks next year. I'm also sure he's not going to be CB1. Okay. And then number 3, Tucker Kraft also mentioned that he believes that he's one guy who can take on more of a vocal leadership. Matt LaFleur in his presser also said that Jordan Love needs to be more vocal in his leadership. Still remain authentic to yourself. But the guys who do things the right way should be the ones leading the team. And it led me to some greater thought of, ultimately, was there this year some kind of leadership void on the team? Think of how incredibly young they are, right? And we know Josh Jacobs has stepped into a great leadership role. We know that Xavier McKinney stepped into a great leadership role. But if you were to look across the entire roster and tell me who's the unquestioned leader that fires up the troops, do we know who that is? And maybe that, on the whole, is the crack in the culture that really needs to be explored. And maybe the Jair stuff is part of that. The Nixon stuff is part of that, right? That's what I'm saying. When it comes to Jair specifically, I honestly have no idea. And I won't be shocked if he's back next year because they smooth it over, or if he is traded, because I do think a trade is more likely than a cut. Go Pack, go all day!
All day. What positions do you think the Packers will draft?
It is 1,000% dependent on free agency. Free agency, of course, starting a good month plus before the draft. Brian Gutekunst right now in the coffers is $50 million that's going, like a portion of that's going to get spent in free agency. I think that this is going to be a free agent spending spree reminiscent of 2019 when they brought in Preston, Z, etc. I do think they're going to spend money this year. So I would say in terms of who are they going to draft, it's 1,000% dependent. Positions to look out for, though, I do think a wide receiver could very well be in the mix. I think certainly a defensive lineman, both end-to-end tackle, might be a high priority. And then I think the third position that you might want to circle in terms of who we're going to scout, corners. I think that those are probably the big three. And then throw in like a fifth-round offensive lineman who will start for the next decade plus. That's just what they do. But I think that those are probably the three positions of emphasis for the roster. Peter!
Could Marshawn Lloyd turn out to be one of the few missing pieces in our offense? I strongly believe in that kid from USC.
He certainly could be, because that is kind of one thing that was lacking. Emmanuel Wilson did have a good year. Chris Brooks came in and did exactly what he needed to do. And we've talked a lot about how Josh Jacobs is very, very good at getting moderately explosive runs up to 12 yards. However, the man does not often run past 12 yards. He's very, very good at getting 12, but there's this weird statistical discrepancy that he does not go past that very much. So having more of a quote-unquote home run threat at running back like Marshawn Lloyd has proven to be could very well be a missing ingredient, especially for things like angle routes out of the backfields, even some of those sweeps. Maybe they do more sweeps and less end-arounds with Jaden Reed once they've got a running back who's more adept at what they're being asked to do in that seat.
Big Al, players who's in the hot seat next year, LVN and Dontavian Wicks.
Totally fair. Yeah, I would agree with those. I would add, it feels kind of wrong to say, but I guess one player that I would add is Luke Musgrave. Like it seemed like they had a good idea on how to use him last year, and he did some great stuff. And then this year, they didn't use him the same at all. And then he got hurt. And then I'm convinced that ankle injury is still kind of going on with how little they used him in the final weeks. But I think he's one player that, like, in year 3 kind of needs to find a definitive place in the offense. Or else it's going to kind of always be a question of, like, what do we do with this unicorn? Because if you can't get him the ball, then what's the point? So that's one player that I'd kind of, and it's not totally his own fault. It's just I think that's one player that they got to figure out what they're doing there.
G-Man saying locker room vibes were off after we're so off.
Oh my God, yeah. And I think LaFleur kind of hit it on the head. It's like if you lose your last game of the year, but you win out playing your best, you gave it your all, and you just came up short. That's one feeling. It's another feeling to know that you might not be moving on just because you were dumb, or just because you didn't do what you know to do, just because of this, or just because of, that feels way worse. And I think Monday morning, the majority of the Packers were sitting there going, what the hell did we do? We had a chance. Defense kept us in it. We squandered this. And it wasn't one play that did it either. And the frustrating thing is, it's not just we squandered this one game, it's the fact that we've squandered like 6 this year. And it's all on us. That's a crap feeling. And I think they were showing it.
Jake saying, I don't think they were off. It's a good thing to have some accountability. If Kraft leadership is like his play style, our team will be better and tougher.
Yeah, maybe off isn't the right word, but I don't think they were overwhelmingly positive either. Like, this wasn't a team that was sitting there being like, oh yeah, we played well, get ready for next year, because we're coming. No, it was a team that was like, yeah, no, we messed up. And we know it. Right? I will agree with you on the point of Tucker Kraft and wanting more out of him. I was really happy that LaFleur kind of isolated and talked about certain individuals that he wants to take up more of the leadership mantle. They got him. It's just, who's really going to get loud? That may help determine the culture of the team next year. Packers Kingdom.
Happily getting an interview with Jets for head coach.
Oh, man, really? Really? Oh, I didn't see that yet. Yeah, that's not good. I would be very hard-pressed to believe that he'd get the job. But, I mean, mark my words, they have another great defensive year next year. He's not going to be the DC for long. Jake.
Not shocking, the leadership took a dip after losing Aaron Jones. Jacobs, an improvement on the field, maybe not in the locker room.
Yes. Well, Aaron Jones is such an exceptional leader. We know that. And I do think Josh Jacobs, per everything that's been said from the locker room, was an exceptional leader. But he's not, I don't think he's loud. I'm not sure there are many guys on that team besides like John Nixon that are. So I think that maybe that's what was kind of missing. I think Jacobs, by all accounts, is a very high character guy. There were articles written about how he took Marshawn Lloyd under his wing, right? LaFleur has called him out for leadership before. So I think maybe Jacobs attempted to step into that void, but the Packers just don't. They're the youngest team in the league again. They just don't have those older guys that have been here before, that have done it before. Because even X and Jacobs, even if they're the old leaders at the age of 25 or whatever they are, they haven't done a Super Bowl run before. They both came from crap teams. That's a little bit of what's missing. iRock! Yo! What's up, man? Big out!
I just felt like for all my years being Packers fans, I feel like we miss on corner in first and second round, like Kevin King, Josh Jackson, Stokes, Rollins, Randall, and the only draft pick that worked was Jair.
And it worked until he was about 27 years old.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that. It does feel like almost like the Packers are just kind of set in like how they draft, like whether it's the methodology or whatever, they're gonna hit on some mid-round O-lineman. Their second-round wide receiver is going to be spectacular, but don't pick one in the third. Don't pick anyone in the third, really. But it's like, it's weird how these tendencies evolve out of teams. And with the Packers, it's like you can stereotype their drafts pretty strongly. And yeah, it's pretty impossible to go against what you're saying there, Big Al. iRock!
What a great season. Can't wait to see our boys grow.
That's right.
Little babies.
And that's not to be lost in all of this, because of course you're going to talk about the flaws after a loss. What's next, right? The reality is, this is an incredibly young team that is very talented. They still improved their record 2 games over last year. Per most offensive efficiency metrics. It didn't feel like it, but they were better this year than they were last. Defensively, they took a huge step up, right? So it's like when you put all of that together, it doesn't feel like it because of how the year ended. And it doesn't feel like it because they had less explosive plays in the passing game. But ultimately, they were better than last year. Another step forward, and you are looking at a bona fide contender next year, especially with $50 million to throw around. Steve.
Do you think the hot seat is getting warmer for Matt LaFleur?
No, not really. Not in Green Bay. No. 1, because Green Bay believes so much in stability. Okay, that's factoid 1. Number 2, he's still a really, really good coach. I mean, like, if you fire a coach and they have another job within 12 seconds of you firing them,
you made a mistake.
Right. And that's exactly what would happen with LaFleur. I think this year, though, some of his bad habits really came prevalent. And I think LaFleur said it himself in his presser. The defense had to shift in unexpected ways. Well, their shift worked. Offensively, they had to, when the Love injury came about, they had to completely rewrite the offense. And they discovered some stuff that worked. And then Love came back and they kept on going with the stuff that worked. And then he got some stats from the analytics department that said, hey, you guys are running it way better out of shotgun than you are under center. And with Jordan still a little banged up, all right, well, then let's go to the shotgun more. But then that takes away the play action. And then he said to the stats department, well, I feel like we're not running play action very much. And they went, oh, you're doing it the 3rd most in the league. So he didn't feel the need to call more. And it was this constant, like, it's almost like he was trying so hard to constantly evolve with what he thought he needed to do, plus with what he was being told was going to work, that he kind of forgot the core principles of what makes his guys good. And we've seen that before from him. And I think LaFleur, if I were to critique his coaching performance, the number one thing that he really has to start doing better is looking at his guys week by week and saying, this is what they're good at. This is what we're going to do. And we're not going to worry about what they're doing on that side of the ball. We're going to be true to what we want to do. And that means not completely reshifting things on a 4-week frame. And I think that's what he's got to get to. Peter.
Talking about being vocal and looking for true leaders, Max Crosby would be such a vocal leader in the locker room. And guess what? He's Josh Jacobs' #1 fan.
I mean, Max Crosby's obviously like the big get, right? Yeah, you want to fix your pass rush? Go get one of the best, of course, right? There are a few things there, like one, his salary is not unreasonable for how good he is, but to acquire it would take a good chunk of what they've got truly available to spend. Because keep in mind that $50 million also has to cover the draft, has to cover any re-signings, right? So like it's not a limitless pool. It's just way more than they generally have. So, I mean, Crosby would take a good port. Of course, they can do a new extension with Crosby. They can do restructures, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing with Max Crosby is the Raiders, even if they do trade him, it's going to be expensive. Like, he is a great player in his prime at a premium position. So are we talking a first plus for Max Crosby? Are we talking just a first? Are we talking Jair? Like, you know what I mean? It's no matter which way you spin it, it would be very expensive to get Max Crosby. And so when you compare that to other options, I'm kind of leaning like the Crosby thing ain't going to happen.
Mick saying, farm kids have grown up with work ethic. Do the Packer players' leaders demonstrate work ethic to the young players? Will individuals improve in this offseason?
I really think they do. I don't think work ethic is the problem for 99% of the locker room. I'm sure there's a couple guys that we can identify that are like, yeah, you really are lazy. You're just a freak athlete who showed up here, aren't you? Good for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's always a couple like that. But the character in the locker room is so unbelievably high. I can't imagine, right? Will individuals improve in the offseason? We'll find out. I mean, that was Matt LaFleur's #1 goal as a goodbye to the team was when we come back for the offseason program, every one of you should be physically and mentally better than how you're leaving today. It's an attainable goal. And that's what he said. Seems reasonable to me too.
Wisco Fanatic saying, I think Jacobs is a more reserved, not as vocal, good leader.
Totally possible. Totally possible. And I wonder if that's basically all of them, right? Because J-Love, not vocal,
No.
Good leader. He'll show good habits, but he's not loud. And so maybe that's the void, is not enough loud. Steve!
The draft expert is here.
What's up, Steve? That's good, because I'm not bitter.
The New York Jets have requested to interview Jeff Hafley for their vacant head coaching position, according to Albert Breer. I'm okay with it as long as Hafley is replaced by Robert Saleh.
Yeah, Robert Saleh also got a head coaching interview I saw earlier today. I forget where, but like, Saleh's no. I think Saleh's going to get another head coaching gig. Let's see. Big Al.
Hot take. I could see the Packers being a defensive-led team for next year, where few pieces of having a top 5 defense if our offense does not improve.
Possible. But I would also believe that per tendencies, per past, I think the offense will improve. I think LaFleur just needs to figure out how to marry the concepts together. But if the offense stays like it did in the latter part of this year, then you could be absolutely right, Big Al.
Joseph saying, too many fans attempt to judge the leadership ability of a player by what they see in interviews. They have no idea what happens when reporters are not around.
And that is completely and utterly fair. Absolutely, Joseph. You're right. I think that there are things you can pick up on, from LaFleur saying as such, like LaFleur today, or in a year press conference, said he wants Jordan to be more vocal. Well, and then we also look at Jordan, like you can kind of connect all the dots on that one. Can you do that for every guy? Absolutely not. And I am certain that there are guys who are 100% different when the cameras are off of them. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, Joseph.
David saying, John, you should be the 4th guy with something to say about.
Just put me on LaFleur's shoulder and I can just go, Matthew Patrick, do not challenge.
No, that's my job.
Oh, yeah, I got to yell at him to hurry up. I rock.
Don't steal my job. Thank you for everything you've added to the season. As a Packers fan, I appreciate that you guys do to help keep us fans better educated and informed about our beloved team. Go Pack Go.
Thank you, iRock. I really appreciate that. Anthony Gaming Boy.
Oh, I couldn't miss this. Just wanted to say hi, Jon and Claudia. Appreciate the heck out of you, and my favorite moments were the live streams and our games. Go Pack Go. Now go get that degree.
I'm going to try, man. But, hey, thank you for your support. Always being here. It's stopping in at every watch party, man. everyone's support has really meant the world. It's meant a lot. Rockin' knees.
Yo, Jon and Wifey. This is exactly how Jordan Love performed in college. One excellent year followed by a so-so year. This upcoming year will be interesting.
Yeah. And then, that is kind of an interesting pattern to follow and see if that keeps up, right? Who was it? Oh, we always used to talk about negative versus odd years. Was it Kenny? There's one guy who, like, you just knew it was this kind of year he was going to do great. Hopefully Jordan's not one of those. But I do think, like, I think that there are some things that really need to help. One, Jordan's numbers on the year were not bad. It was just very frustrating to watch at times. He certainly improved the interception problem in the second half of the year. And then when you look at the game against the Eagles, LaFleur talked about the 3 picks. One was a tremendous play by Slay, and he deserves full credit for that. One was the receiver was 5 yards more shallow than he should. And that completely threw off the timing. It threw off, like LaFleur said, I saw what Jordan saw. It was not a bad ball for that. And then number 3, he felt like the ball was underthrown, but also Bo Melton got assaulted. So, you know what I mean? So, like, even in that context, like, yeah. I mean, so the Jordan Love full complete season breakout is coming. I would not be shocked at all. 1,000% speculation, but doesn't it just kind of feel like this? Would you be shocked if you heard 3 weeks from now Jordan Love got arthroscopic surgery to clean up the knee once and for all? It just kind of has that feel to it, doesn't it? Steve!
Did you all see Eagles fan get into trouble for calling a female Packers fan ugly and being really rude to her in Philly?
I did.
Lost his job?
Yes, he did. He got fired from his job.
Yep.
There is no reason.
He will never be allowed in a Eagles game again.
Yep. There is 0 reason to be that kind of human. And we're not going to completely close out yet. That'll be in a few minutes. But I think one of the parting things that I have is, like doing this channel for a couple of years, we were not strangers to randomly getting assaulted in comment sections. Now, maybe some of you didn't see them because we always like moderated them, cleaned it up. I didn't want the comment section to be bad. But they were certainly there, right? And there is no reason to ever be that kind of cruel to anyone, especially someone that you don't know. And that happening in Philly was one of the like grossest, dumbest, just ugly things, ugly aspects of humanity, right? And obviously there's 1,000 more examples. That one was just so clearly caught on film. I'm glad that that individual is being held accountable. I truly believe like being nice isn't hard. I watch my 4-year-old do it at preschool damn near every day. If he can do it, we should be able to do it. So there's my thoughts. Commando.
Agreed. I felt closer to knowing the team this season than others.
Awesome. That means a lot. David, yes, indeed. That was Boss. Yep. And his fiance. Just, it's unfortunate and stupid. Yep. And now got fired. Yep. Peter.
Who is the best option to compensate for Watson's long injury and Dobbs' health? D. Higgins through free agency, Devontae Adams if the Jets let him go, pick a wide receiver on day one at the draft, or call Jordy Nelson back. Oh boy.
Yeah, okay, not Jordy. Jordy seems perfectly happy on his farm. I've actually seen Jordy a couple times since he retired. That man ain't coming back. He is happy on his ranch. In terms of like replacing Watson, I'm in the camp of wanting Devontae. I think he solves a number of things at the wide receiver area, but he does not replace the speed element of a Christian Watson. I think a healthy Luke Musgrave can. I think that others can. And if you pair that with a true man beater, because keep in mind, the Packers were worlds better against man coverage last year than they were this year. One of the best last year compared to one of the worst this year. Same thing against the blitz. One of the best last year. Jordan was one of the worst this year. So they need someone that they know can win one-on-ones. And I thought it was funny in LaFleur's press conference, and they were talking about beating one-on-ones, that LaFleur, like it was, I think it was Wildy asked, we haven't heard about beating one-on-ones since since a few weeks ago. And what he was going to say there was since McCarthy. Like, you just know it, because that's true. McCarthy always used to talk about receivers needing to beat one-on-ones. And LaFleur, it felt like, took a step backwards this year and needed his receivers to beat one-on-ones, and then they couldn't do it. So the number one thing that I want, besides just the speed element, because I think they can replace that, is someone that you know will win every one-on-one. Steve.
Love lost a lot of offensive
True.
starters, and his head coach went off to coach the Texas A&M Aggies, or was it Texas Tech?
No, it was one of the Texas schools, Steve. I don't remember which, but that is a really good, important context to keep in mind around Love's up and down collegiate career. No doubt. Yep, fair.
Joseph saying Schneiderman shared a story of how Philly fans were really annoying the Packer reporters in the press box.
Yeah.
A certain ESPN reporter totally lost it and yelled back at them, causing lots of laughter.
Yeah, I didn't read it, but I saw the headlines about like some drunken individual like got into the press box and then started screaming at Robert Saleh, which like out of all of the human beings, you're gonna yell at like muscle-ridden 6'4" Robert Saleh? Okay. There's dumb, and then there's dumb. Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks. Jeremy.
May your beard always be wedding perfect.
Thank you. I just trimmed it. It's a little scant right now, but yeah. Thank you. Steve.
Jon and Claudia you both are real respected and loved. Jon, you're like a brother to me, and I really enjoy being here with you, and Claudia and everyone else in the show. God
Thanks,
bless
Steve.
you all.
That means a lot. And I think maybe this is a good point for us to wrap. The number one thing that we tried to do here in 3 seasons of time was I wanted a place where people would come to where they could feel accepted, informed, feel okay about the team, some way to enhance the fan experience. And I took that really seriously. The one thing I never really wanted to have happen was someone feel isolated, not part of the community, whatever, right? And I feel like it wasn't perfect along the way. There were people we had to block. Bunch of cruel pricks. But I feel like for a lot of you, we were able to do that. And what it did for us during, I won't lie, a difficult couple of years with my health and everything else, gave us a place of friendship too. And I think for us, as we're moving on, the most difficult aspect is I'm not going to miss having to like come up with a video when I'm not feeling inspired, because there were those days you probably knew which videos they were. I'm not going to necessarily miss having to dive into like the DVOA, LMNOP, XYZs of like, what does this even mean? But the Packers ranked 27th in it. Do with that what you will. But I very sincerely am going to miss you guys, because that's made this easier and it's made it worth it. Now, I am being called in a new direction in life to hopefully go help people in a more direct manner. But if there is one thing that I hope that you all took from whether you joined us, I think, like, I know Kebbles isn't here, but if you're a regular on the channel, you know Captain Kebbles. He's loud. He's normally here. I went back and I looked. I think he started commenting on the, like, 4th ever video I ever did. And then stuck around through over 200 episodes. Some of you I know just came in like a month ago, and you've been here ever since. I genuinely and sincerely hope that over these 3 seasons, it gave you at least a place to feel okay, feel accepted with however you felt about the team, feel a little bit more informed, or just a place to come get some anger out. That's cool too. I hope we gave that to you. And if we didn't give you any of that stuff, I don't know why you're still here, but hey, I appreciate it. And I'm sorry we let you down. But that was the goal. And throughout the last couple of years, I was fortunate enough to do like those Bleacher Report appearances and stuff like that. And some of you know how those went. Those aren't the most fun things in the world. I also remember that first one where I was made multiple sources and like several articles written. I will never forget that day. No matter what happens in life, I will never forget that day because I'm multiple sources. No, I'm not. I'm a dude in Sheboygan in his living room making shit up. But we felt incredibly privileged to have any success with this at all, like at all. And it was because of you that we did. So know how tremendously we're going to miss you. Know how thankful we are that in our lives we at least had a little bit of time to share this with you. And hopefully, as the future moves on, I know, I'm going to be totally frank, I know I am looking forward to watching games with my little boy and my dad. You only have so many years in life where you can watch games with 3 generations together. And I know that, like, I don't know how far that goes. And I'm eager to go live that life for a little while. That also doesn't mean that I'm going to miss each and every one of you. So, thank you. That's what we really need to say. We're going to miss you. We love you. Thanks for being a part of our lives for a couple of years. But we are going to miss you. One thing that we all of us will always have in common is the fact that we do happen to root for like the greatest team in the world. And that will always bond all of us, no matter where we are, unless you're like the dickheads from Philly. So, with all of that, I do want to announce one change. Now, I am still going to disappear forever. She is too.
Yeah, no.
We're gone. We're going to become fagments real quick.
For the one person
Figments.
asking me to take over. Sorry, no, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
But I've gotten some questions recently about like, so is the channel just going to go black? Or are you just going to delete it? What exactly is going to happen now? And the reality is I've gotten some feedback from others that have said, like, they don't just want the channel to go back. They want to be able to look back on past videos or whatever else. And I totally 1000% understand and respect that. Now, in terms of like the Facebook and Instagram pages, yeah, no, those are going to go. Those are going to get deleted. But I was talking with my friends at Wisco Fanatics, Tyler, Jake, Brian, Simon, and look, if you've never watched any of their content, I would say, give it a try. They are 4 excellent people, 4 wonderful human beings who, if you liked what I had to say, always being like factually based, always citing sources, always, trying to not be an idiot, you will love those 4. So what we're going to do is Lombardi Time Brews, that time is done. My time is done. But we're going to take the channel and transform it into being Wisco Fanatics' new channel, either merging it with their channel, them taking it over, whatever. So that the videos that I've created can be looked back upon, but also they can then move forward. Then hopefully you like their content too. They're great human beings. So that is the future of this specific channel. Like I said, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere else, that's going to disappear. But this channel, you're going to see some transformations. And I'll give it a shot. Like going to a therapist, finding a Packers content creator, you got to have the right mix. I get it, 1000%. Give them a shot. They're wonderful human beings. Okay? And then the last bit that I would just ask before we depart is, if you're here, let me know, because we want this feedback, but also be helpful to them. What was the thing that we did that you enjoyed the most? What was your favorite memory? If you are able to, at all right now, if you can't type, 1000% get it. Don't drive and type. Don't do anything dumb. Just leave a comment about what you liked, because it'll help them and it'll give us a parting to get out of here too. And here is Wisco Fanatics. They're here. Jon, we are honored that you are willing to do this for us. We will treat your audience with the same love and respect that you guys gave. So, look, y'all. I love you. I really do. It's been a very fun couple years. Hopefully, this turn in life that we're about to go through will help others. That's the hope. That's the dream, right? And that means we got to say goodbye to this. And we have a family to tend to. But sincerely, love y'all. There is so much bullshit out there about the Green Bay Packers, about everything in life. Do your best to cut through the bullshit. Find the facts. But more importantly than any of that, I ain't talking Jordan, but find the love. And find people who value you. I do think it's time for us to go. So, tomorrow I'm going to take apart this desk and it's time for us. Sincerely, I love you all. I wish all of you nothing but the best forever. Sincerely. And as always, go Pack, go.